All right, now I want to go after the main navigation menu items in this exercise. So what I'm going to do, first of all, we're going to squeeze these guys right into our black nav menu bar there. But what I'm going to do first is I see that my logo, kind of the drips coming off the bottom of my logo are kind of encroaching a little bit too much on that black navigation bar. So just give me a moment here. I'm going to twist into my header area layer group, and I'll grab my logo, and I'll pop back into free transform here just by hitting Control or Command T. This is one of the cool things we can do with smart objects, by the way. At any point in time, we can go and scale and move and adjust them, right? Without losing quality because it's still a vector object. So I just held down Shift there and kind of scaled this guy down just a little bit. I'm not sure if this is exactly where I'm going to wind up or not, but that's good enough for now. And then I just went and hit enter on my keyboard to lock in that change. And then what I'll do here back inside the layers panel is I'll twist shut the header area layer group, and I'll grab my nav menu layer one more time. And we want to go after these main navigation menu items. So what I'll do is I'll tap my T key on the keyboard, which will go and activate my type tool. Now, you might have to wait a moment just for the type tool to load in all of the fonts here. And then what I'm going to do as well is I want to go and set some formatting options before we start actually typing in some of our text. Okay, so just bear with me for a second here. Notice the options bar across the top has completely changed now to offer up some text formatting options. So the font that I'm going to use is going to be Verdana. So I can actually just start typing in the name of that font and it'll jump me all the way down. Verdana is what I want. And let's see, I'm gonna switch this out to Verdana Bold. And the size that I'm actually going to use is going to be pretty small. I'm going to go all the way down to just 4 point, okay? And I'm also going to center my text here. I'm going all the way across the options bar here. And then lastly, the color that I'm going to use. Go ahead and click on this color swatch, and that, of course, brings us into Photoshop's color picker. And let's see here. I'm just going to use my RGB color fields here to type in some RGB color values. I'm going to go 240 tab 120 tab 30. All right, there we go, just like that. That'll give us this orange color, same orange that we used inside our logo. Okay, go ahead and click on OK. And then what I'll do is I'll bring my cursor into about the center of that black navigation bar, and I'll just single click to begin typing in my text. Interestingly, it didn't take my 4 point, but I'll go and change my size in just a second here. So here we go. Here's the menu items. I'm going to type in home. Okay. Now I'm behind my blue header area there as well. That's all right. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in 3 spaces. Okay. And then I'll type in the experience. All right. And what I'm going to do myself here anyways, I'm going to put the brakes on because I can't see what I'm typing here. And furthermore, my text is way too big. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit Control or Command A on my keyboard. That'll select all of my text for me. And then I'm going to head back here and see if I can get this 4 point size locked in. There we go. Something like that. I typed in 4 and I hit Enter on my keyboard. And then what I'll do is I'll make sure that I'm on my black arrow tool there inside the toolbox, and I'm just going to use my down arrow key on my keyboard. I'm just tapping my down arrow key, and there's my text. Wonderful. Okay, good stuff. Now, I'm going to go back into my text object by tapping the T key on my keyboard, and then clicking just after the experience there. That should get me directly inside the same text object. And then I'll put in 3 more spaces. Okay, I'm using 3 spaces as my divider here. And I'll continue with my menu items. I'm going to go tickets and rates, and then 3 spaces. You can use vertical dividers if you want, or different separators, whatever you like. I'm going with the triple space here. And then our location. There we are. And then 3 spaces. Online store. 3 spaces. I'm just making sure I'm not getting any typos in here. And then we're almost done here. Visitor, comments, and then 3 more spaces here. Contact us. There we go. Perfect. Okay, wonderful. Now, as it turns out, the font size that I wound up using is still too big, but we can fix this. I'm actually not really too concerned about the size of the text that I use. I more or less want it to visually fit inside my layout without really any regard as to whether it's 6-point or 4-point or whatever it may be. Now, notice that we have a new type layer inside our layers panel. That's great. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that that type layer is selected, and then I'll hit Controller Command T on my keyboard to once again get me opened up inside the free transform. And then all I'm going to do is grab a corner and just scale this guy down just a little bit while holding down Shift, because I don't want to distort this. There, that looks pretty darn good to me. Everything looks nice and centered. I'll hit Enter on my keyboard to lock that in, and then maybe just do a little bit of fiddling here in terms of the vertical positioning. There we go. Perfect. There's our main navigation menu items here for us. Last but not least, what I want to do is I want to take the navigation menu items that we've created here along with the nav menu itself, and I want to group them together into this folder thingy that we have here inside Photoshop called a layer group. Okay, now I zipped through this pretty quickly earlier on. What I'm going to do is I'm going to grab each of my layers by holding down either Control or Command and selecting both of them. And then what I can do is I can simply hit Control or Command G on my keyboard. Think of grouping in some of your other graphics applications. Same keyboard shortcut. That takes the selected layers and groups them into this thing called a layer group. Okay? As no doubt you already suspected. And then I'll double click on group 1 and I'll simply rename this to something like nav menu or navigation menu, something like that. Okay, there we are. There's our nav menu.